get this over with so I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Today we are heading into one of our least favorite states to RV in, California. It is not just the high fuel prices that we don't like about California, which is made even worse by the fact that we drive a diesel, but also the state limits the speed limit for those that are towing to 55 miles an hour. So as we're on highways, we are getting tailgated and people are zipping around us, which is not safe for driving. Additionally, it is not the best state for boondocking, which is primarily what we do to save money. There's lots of restrictions against overnight parking and sleeping in your vehicles outside of campgrounds. So not the most fun for us as RVers, but we are going to make the most of it as we make our way to Oregon. But all that to say, California is a really pretty state. We spent about 2 months RVing through California last year and did really enjoy it. We saw some of the most pretty places that we have seen in the country were in California. But we do not want to spend much time here this time around. We are on our way to Oregon and Washington, where we're going to spend the rest of the summer. And so we're just going through the northern bit of California, but we do have a couple of places that we want to check off and see on the way through. So we're going to see how quickly we can do that and how little money that we can spend on this journey through one of the most expensive states in the country. So come along with us as we see what there is to see. Home for tonight is a Sno Park parking lot just outside Lassen Volcanic National Park. These snow parks are parking areas for snow recreation activities and snow removal equipment. So they're off limits in the winter when there's snow, but in the summer you can boondock in these parking areas, and they are often very convenient for places that you want to visit. Not necessarily the most scenic or secluded, but convenient, flat, and accessible. Here's where we parked, and you can see that we're super convenient to Lassen National Park, which is where we're going to go tomorrow. This is also the Pacific Crest Trail that goes right through the park on its way north. Carson thinks I'm crazy, but I have a romantic, maybe slightly delusional idea that I would love to hike the Pacific Crest Trail someday, even though I've never done anything near that long, but I still think that would be really cool, and it goes through so many beautiful places. Today we are heading into our last California National Park, Lassen Volcanic. We are visiting the park in early June. The park road is now open. It opened just a little bit ago, but some of the things in the park are still closed, like one of the most popular trails. So we're going to start our day at the visitor center to see what the rangers recommend us doing with our time, and we're going to go from there. The first stop along the park road is Sulphur Works, the park's most accessible hydrothermal area. We're just in the parking lot and can already smell the sulfur. Lassen is actually often referred to as a mini Yellowstone because of all of the different hydrothermal areas that are in the park. Bumpass Hill is the largest hydrothermal area in the park, but unfortunately the trail there is still closed this time of year because of snow, so we won't be able to see that. But when it is open, it's about a 3-mile long boardwalk that weaves through the hydrothermal areas, so you can get really close to them and see them. So bummed that we're missing that, but we will have to come back another time. Crazy that we were just at this boiling hot sulfur pool and now we are at a lake that is literally frozen. The park road climbs elevation pretty steadily, so we do see a lot more snow as we get further into the park. This lake behind me, Emerald Lake, is actually still pretty well frozen even in mid-June, which is kind of crazy. For how much snow there still is, I would expect it to be colder out here, but it actually feels really nice. It's about 70 today. Next stop is Lake Helen, and this is even more frozen over than Emerald Lake. And this is a massive lake too. It's super, super pretty with the ice. We are doing one of the few trails in the park that does not have snow on it, we hope. Kings Creek Falls, which starts at a very pretty Kings Creek and then goes through the meadow, and then we'll see a 30-foot waterfall. No snow on the trail, but lots and lots of wildfire damage. Our last stop is Manzanita Lake, which is a great, beautiful place to relax at the end of the day. Well, that wraps up our time in Lassen Volcanic National Park. We didn't have a lot of time here, but we had time to see the highlights and some really beautiful sights and places. If we had had more time in the park, we would have loved to also go to the Butte Lake area, where there is the Cinder Cone volcano that you can actually hike up the volcano, and then from the top you can see the painted desert below, which is supposed to be really pretty and very cool. It is a somewhat strenuous hike, but it would have been nice to do if we had had the time. It also looked like it would have been really nice to kayak on Manzanita Lake. We saw several people putting in their kayaks or their little inflatable boats, and it looked super pretty. Well, Carson unintentionally got his wish to spend as little time in California as possible. We got the unfortunate news of a death in the family and need to fly back to South Carolina. The best flight option for us was out of Portland. We are leaving Lassen National Park area now, headed to Mount Shasta to see a couple last sights on our way out of California as we make our way up to Oregon. Morning of our last day in California, and we are starting it with what is arguably one of the most pretty waterfalls in California, Burney Falls. This is absolutely unreal. I mean, look at that. Wow. Now we are heading back to the camper to get hooked back up and head to our next spot. We are heading a little further west to what will be our last stop in California, the Mount Shasta area. And we are excited to explore, see the mountains, see some pretty lakes, and other beautiful sights. Home for the night. Pretty views over here, and then you can also see a little bit of Mount Shasta up there. It is a Saturday, so a lot of the good boondocking spots were already taken when we got here, but this worked out well. Our first stop in the Mount Shasta area is just a very short walk to Hedge Creek Falls, which is a cool waterfall that you can walk behind. And because it's not a state or national park, Harper can go with us. Now heading to waterfall number 3 of the day, Fairy Falls. This trail is decently muddy, so Harper gets the princess treatment again. Now we are ready to spend the rest of our afternoon relaxing at the lake. This particular beach has great views of Mount Shasta in the background behind the lake, so a perfect spot to spend the afternoon. Last adventure for today is walking up the street from the camper to go watch the sunset, and wow, did it get cold quickly. My watch says it is 44 degrees outside, quite a change. The sun's setting on the other side, so it's not right over the mountain, but she has a really nice glow to her. Packing up to leave our beautiful spot. I wish we had more time to explore Mount Shasta area, but that just means we will have to come back because there's lots more to see.
That wraps up our time here in California, and now we are booking our way up to Portland, Oregon.
We parked on the street to explore downtown Ashland, Oregon on our way through. Didn't make it 15 feet before seeing the sign. Home tonight is the Camping World parking lot north of Eugene, Oregon. Certainly not as scenic as some of the boondocking options that we stay at, but it's convenient, right off the highway, it's quiet, it's free and safe, so it works for us. The slide is getting a little too close to this bush, so we're gonna move up another couple of feet to try to get away from it. Try it again. No bushes were harmed. We also might have a new neighbor. They might just be using the dump station, but I'm very intrigued by this boat that they're towing behind their camper. Well, they didn't want to camp with us. They're leaving. Welcome to the Pacific Northwest. It's a rainy, gloomy morning in Eugene, Oregon, but we're heading out to keep moving north. I always hate having to put these steps inside the camper when we leave, but especially when it's raining because it's going to get wet everywhere. We had to make a quick stop en route to a Petco south of Portland because Harper needed a couple more vaccines before we have to board her for our flight. Unfortunately, we didn't think that we wanted to fly with her for her first flight across the country, so we are gonna have to board her, but she's all fixed up now. Made it to our soggy home for the night outside Portland, Oregon. Portland doesn't really have any boondocking options, hence our neighbors, but we do have hookups, so that is a perk. Had lots of obstacles for the slide, so we're avoiding this back pole. Hopefully we're not gonna hit the top of the water. Looks like we should clear it. Up. Harper's not used to us having air conditioning and she's getting cold. The campground is very close to the airport, which thankfully we can't hear the planes from inside the camper, but it is kind of cool to watch them taking off and landing. We dropped Harper off at her boarding place this morning, and now we're getting the camper packed up to move it to where we will store it while we are gone. We found a place on the app called Neighbor to store our camper while we're gone. It's kind of like Airbnb, but for storage space, so people rent out either their yard or if they have a shed for people to store stuff in, like a storage unit, and rent out a piece of their driveway, etc. We used that as well when we were in Alaska last summer, and we had to leave the camper for when we went on a cruise and a couple other things, and it worked out well. You can see the size of the area that they're renting and if it'll work out. So this guy here has technically room enough for the camper and the truck, but getting into it might be a little challenging. He said you have to back up the driveway and then turn, and it's a little bit tight. So we're gonna see, if nothing else, he's gonna let us park in the driveway, but it might be a little bit of a Tetris game. Regardless though, we have a place to keep the camper that should be safe. It's cheaper than storing it at a campground while we're gone, and the guy who owns the place is even going to drive us to and from the airport, which is really nice. Last thing to do before we leave the campground is to dump our tanks and flush them, and then we can hit the road. Where we were parked, in order to avoid the pole with our slide, we couldn't quite reach the sewer dump, so we had to hook up and back up before we could dump. That's the last thing we need to do, and then we're ready to hit the road. Our camper storage spot is just across the border in Washington. Then we're headed to the airport. We made it through security very quickly, and this is a really nice airport. Well, that wraps up our very short time in California and our quick trip up to Portland to catch our flight. We will be spending the next week with family, but thanks for watching and check back next week as we make our way back to Portland to explore.